The U.S. government has approved the sale of an American advanced missile system to Saudi Arabia for $15 billion. In a statement, the Pentagon says a Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, will serve U.S. national and foreign policy interests. A statement stresses that it will also support the long-term security of Saudi Arabia in the face of, quote, Iranian and other regional threats. Saudi Arabia has asked to purchase 44 THAAD launchers, 360 missiles, as well as fire control stations and radars from the U.S. After taking office, U.S. President Donald Trump set the goal of agreeing a total of $110 billion in arms sales to Riyadh over the next 10 years. And joining us out of Washington is Mr. Michael Springman, former U.S. diplomat in Saudi Arabia. Hello, Mr. Springman. Thank you for joining us on the program. Your thoughts on THAAD being delivered to Riyadh by Washington?
Well, it's a pretty rotten kettle of fish. There are enough weapons in the region already, and sending more there is not good common sense. And the tendency is if you have weapons, you would like to use them and to test them out and put them into situations where they can and should and must be used. It's really corporate welfare, I think, for Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, the suppliers of these things, because they have been in development since the time Ronald Reagan was president in the even before the 1990s, and they've never been used in a real battle situation. They've been tested, and they somehow seem to work at very high altitudes, but not so well at other altitudes. They have radars that can peep over the horizon, and the Chinese are concerned about this because it tells the Americans about what's going on in China. And I think this is a way for the Americas, the Saudis, and the United Arab Emirates, who have gotten some of these weapons in the past, to look at Iran and to use their radars to probe Iranian capabilities. I think also that it does not advance U.S. security interests or foreign policy interests. I think it shores up the Saudi government, and the Saudi government is not a friend of the United States or any other country in the region, and has attacked Qatar and Yemen, and it's a reward for bad behavior, really. This is not a good thing, and it's really a serious situation, and it puts American forces in the gun sights of anybody who might want to put an end to Saudi tyranny and Saudi military aggression in the region. So I think
that's the thing. I'm sorry, but this narrative, this premise that this is to support the long-term security of Saudi Arabia and the region. I mean, there's a lot of critics that say it's actually working counter to that, as we've seen what Saudis are doing, Riyadh's doing in Yemen. Nearly 13,000 people killed, Muslim civilians. 2016 alone, nearly 700 children. It's been just blacklisted recently, I'm sure you're well aware, by the UN for the death of nearly 700 children. 38 schools and hospitals targeted. I mean, are these weapons being put to the promotion of security in the region?
Absolutely not. They are promoting instability in the region. And if Congress doesn't stop this within the next 30 days, the sale will go through and will further destabilize the region and enable the Saudis to engage in murder, war crimes, and human rights violations.
I want to thank you for joining us there, Mr. Michael Springman, out of Washington, D.C., former U.S. diplomat in Saudi Arabia. Thank you, sir.